All right, so today we're going to dive into a real historical puzzle.
Okay.
It's about Emperor Qin Shi Huang,
Mm-hmm.
the first emperor of a unified China.
Right.
I think a lot of people, when they hear that name,
Yeah.
they think of, the Great Wall
Right.
or his quest for immortality.
Yeah.
But what about his encounter with this god named Xiangshan?
That's a good one.
So did this emperor, who's really known for being kind of an iron fist ruler,
Yeah.
really order the deforestation of an entire mountain
Wow.
just as punishment for like a strong wind.
Yeah. That's the story.
That's what we're here to kind of unpack.
Yeah.
And we're using some really interesting sources for this. We've got excerpts from this book called Simo,
Right.
and then we've got some really amazing images of the Qin bamboo slips,
Oh, cool.
which is these ancient records that I think can give us a really new perspective on this whole story.
It's a story that, kind of speaks to the challenges of building an empire from scratch. So imagine you're Qin Shi Huang.
Right.
You just unify China.
Right.
And you're going on this grand tour to try to, solidify your rule.
Makes sense.
And then you get to Xiangshan Mountain, this place that's sacred to the people who live there. And you run into this massive windstorm.
Oh, wow.
So the traditional account says that he was so angry about this windstorm
Wow.
that he orders that the whole mountain be deforested
What?
as punishment for this god Xiangshan.
Wait, hold on. So first of all, who's Xiangjun?
Right.
And second of all, why are you punishing a god for the weather?
Well, I mean, Xiangjun is the deified form of Emperor Shun's two wives,
Okay.
A Huang and Nuing.
Got it.
And Emperor Shun, he's kind of a big deal
Yeah.
in Chinese history.
Right.
He was known for being really wise and virtuous.
So I guess what you're saying is this wasn't just about bad weather.
Yeah.
This was about, like,
More of a power struggle.
power.
Qin Shi Huang wanted to unify everything,
Yeah.
even the gods.
Right. Okay.
And in traditional Chinese belief,
Mm-hmm.
there's this idea that sacrifices should not cross territorial boundaries.
Oh, interesting.
Like each region has their own gods, and you don't mess with that.
So Qin Shi Huang basically walks into this sacred space
Yeah.
and is like, nope, I'm in charge now. Even the gods answer to me.
That's basically it.
I mean, talk about a power move.
It's a big one.
But, like, I imagine that had some blowback.
Yeah, it definitely did.
Right.
I mean, people saw this deforestation
Yeah.
as deeply disrespectful.
Right.
And the mountain, right? The soil is like really bright red color.
Oh, wow.
And it was exposed after all the trees were cut down.
Right.
And that red color became like a symbol of his cruelty.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because it was the same color as the prisoner uniforms.
Oh, so it was like a constant reminder of, like,
Yeah.
his harsh rule.
Right. And
Yeah.
this incident really cemented the hatred between the Qin and the Chu people,
Right, right.
who were already not big fans of him.
And that eventually plays a part in the rebellion that brings down the Qin Dynasty.
Exactly.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Stage left, enter the Qin bamboo slips.
Here we go.
So these were discovered in 2007,
Okay.
and they have all these official archives
Right.
from the Qin Dynasty.
Mhm.
And one of them mentions Xiangshan Mountain,
What?
but not how you would think.
Okay. Tell me.
So this record is dated 2 years
Mm-hmm.
before this whole Xiangshan incident went down.
Okay.
And it shows Qin Shi Huang ordering protection of the forests
Hold on. Are you serious?
on Xiangshan Mountain
Protection.
and, like, the mountains around it.
Wow.
And he even talks about how beautiful they are.
He's praising their beauty.
Yeah.
So wait, he went from clear-cutting a mountain to
Right.
protecting the trees?
It seems that way, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's a total 180. So what are we saying now that the traditional sources were just, like, wrong?
Well, not necessarily.
Okay.
I mean, you have to remember that historical records, they're often just fragments, and they can be really influenced by the people who are writing them
Right.
and their biases.
So you're saying maybe people who are writing after the Qin Dynasty
Right.
wanted to make him look bad.
Potentially. I mean,
Yeah.
think about it. He wasn't exactly Mr. Popularity.
Right.
You know, he had some pretty harsh policies.
Yeah.
He wasn't afraid to use force
Mm-hmm.
to get what he wanted.
So maybe they kind of twisted this story.
Maybe.
They fit, like, their agenda.
It's possible.
Which is why these bamboo slips are so cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're like from the inside.
Right. A firsthand account of how they saw things.
So maybe Qin Shi Huang wasn't so bad after all.
Well, it's not that simple.
Okay.
We still have that date problem.
Right.
On that bamboo slip about Xiangshan Mountain.
Yeah.
If it really is from the 26th year of his rule,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't really make sense for him to be touring the South so soon.
Right.
After unifying China.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a bit of a logistical puzzle.
Is there any chance that, like, the slip is wrong?
Well, there's always a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's a later copy, and the date was just copied wrong.
Right.
Scribes were human. They make mistakes.
Right.
Or maybe, like, some scholars think that that damaged character on the slip isn't a 6 at all.
Okay.
But it's actually a 9.
Oh, so it's like a misinterpretation?
Yeah, like they misread it.
Mm-hmm. And if it's a 9,
yeah,
then it actually lines up with the
right.
traditional timeline.
So it could just be like a scribal error.
Potentially.
That basically rewrote history.
It's amazing, right?
That's wild.
How these small details have such a big impact.
But even if the date is right, it's still weird, right?
It is.
Like, how can he be doing these two totally opposite things?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really makes us think about Qin Shi Huang in a totally different way.
As a more complex figure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We need to look past just this one incident and try to understand his bigger motivations.
Okay, so let's do that.
Right.
What else was going on during his reign?
Okay, well, check this out.
Yeah.
If you look at his itinerary during his big tour,
okay.
Mount Tai, Bohai Sea, G2 Mountain, the Yangtze River, Xiangshan Mountain.
Right.
It's almost exactly the same.
As what?
As the legendary journey of Emperor Huangdi.
Okay, remind me.
Yeah.
Who's Emperor Huangdi?
He's a mythical figure.
Okay.
Like the ancestor of the Chinese people.
Right.
Really revered for his wisdom and all that.
Got it. So you're saying Qin Shi Huang was basically like...
copying him.
Yeah, like copying his homework.
Exactly.
That's actually pretty clever.
It is, right. I mean, he's building this whole new empire.
From scratch.
Yeah. Nobody's done this before.
Exactly.
So why not look to the legends?
Right.
For some guidance.
Right. Because there's no, rule book for how to be an emperor of a unified China.
Right.
So he had to kind of make it up as he went along.
Yeah, and I guess that speaks to...
It does.
How hard it is to, like, establish your authority.
Right.
When you're the first one to do something.
Yeah, it's all about legitimacy.
Right.
Showing the people that you deserve to be in charge.
And by doing what Huangdi did, he's basically saying...
I'm following in the footsteps of greatness.
Yeah, I'm the rightful heir.
Exactly.
But relying on mythology, I feel like that could be a bit tricky.
It definitely can.
Right.
Because legends are open to interpretation.
Yeah.
What might seem wise in a myth could be a total disaster in real life.
Right. It's like,
it is.
You're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
Exactly. You can try to force it, but it's not going to work perfectly.
So maybe Qin Shi Huang, misjudged things.
It's possible.
Because he was so focused on this legend.
Yeah, he was trying to live up to this ideal
Yeah.
that might not have been realistic.
It's interesting to think about, what was going on in his head.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
So, okay, let me get this straight.
Okay.
We've got these two totally different versions of what happened at Xiangshan Mountain.
Right.
We've got a maybe messed up date on this bamboo slip. And we've got Qin Shi Huang maybe trying too hard to be like this legendary emperor.
It's a real historical thriller.
It really is. It's like a mystery we're trying to solve.
It really highlights how complex history is.
Yeah.
And how we need to look at things from different angles.
Right.
And be critical of the information we have.
Yeah. And not just take things at face value.
Exactly. We have to question everything.
When I started this, I thought this was just going to be about a bad-tempered emperor and a windstorm.
Right. It seems simple.
But it's way more complicated than that.
It always is.
This is really cool.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I am. This is great.
I think you're really starting to see Qin Shi Huang in a whole new light.
Yeah.
And we're just getting started.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in the next part. We're going to hear from some experts about these conflicting accounts and how we can make sense of it all.
Okay, I'm excited to hear that.
Me too.
I can't wait.
It'll be good.
All right, well, we'll be back soon for that.
Sounds good.
So stay tuned.
All right. So we're left with these two totally different pictures of Qin Shi Huang at Xiangshan Mountain.
Yeah.
Tyrant who, lashes out at the gods.
Right.
Versus, the nature lover.
Yeah, how do we even begin to make sense of that?
Well, I think we got to think about who is writing these accounts.
Okay.
I mean, the traditional story, it comes from sources written way after the Qin Dynasty fell.
Oh, interesting.
So maybe those writers, they weren't exactly Qin Shi Huang's biggest fans.
Right, they might have had an axe to grind.
Exactly. Maybe they wanted to make him look bad.
Yeah, because he wasn't the nicest guy, right?
He wasn't known for being gentle.
Like burning books and burying scholars.
Right, not exactly winning any popularity contests.
So it's possible they just, like, twisted things a little bit.
Yeah, maybe they exaggerated his bad side.
To fit their own narrative.
Exactly.
Which is why these bamboo slips are so cool.
Right, they're like a window into the Qin Dynasty.
From their perspective.
Exactly. So maybe things weren't as black and white?
As those later accounts make it seem?
Right, there could be a whole other side to the story.
Okay, but what about that date problem?
Right, the bamboo slip that mentions Xiangshan Mountain.
Yeah, if that's really from the 26th year of his rule.
It does make things a bit tricky.
Yeah, he wouldn't have been touring that soon.
Right.
After unifying China.
Logistically, it's a bit of a head-scratcher.
Is there any way that the slip could be wrong?
I mean, it's possible, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a copy of an older slip.
Yep.
And the date was just, like, miscopied.
Scribes make mistakes, right?
They do. They were human after all.
Right, yeah.
Or there's another theory.
What's that?
Maybe that damaged character on the slip.
Yeah.
It's not actually a 6.
Okay.
Maybe it's a 9.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and if it's a 9, then
it lines up with the traditional accounts.
Exactly.
Wow, so it could be like a tiny little mistake.
A simple scribal error.
That completely changed how we see history.
It's amazing how that happens.
Yeah, like one little character.
Can make all the difference.
But even if the date is right,
yeah,
it's still hard to understand how he could do these two opposite things.
It's a real puzzle, isn't it?
It makes you wonder what was going on in his head.
It really does, and I think that's the key here.
Okay.
To understand his motivations. Like, why would he do these seemingly contradictory things?
Right, because he clearly wasn't just some, like, evil cartoon villain.
No, he was a complex individual.
Yeah, with his own reasons for doing things.
And to understand those reasons, I think we have to look at the bigger picture.
Okay, what do you mean?
Well, remember that idea of him emulating Emperor Huangdi?
Right, the legendary emperor.
Yeah, I think that's super important.
Okay, but I'm still a bit fuzzy on why.
Okay, well, think about it this way.
Yeah.
He's creating this whole new empire.
From scratch. Yeah.
And that's a huge deal, right?
It's never been done before.
Exactly. So he needs to establish his authority.
Right, make people believe that he deserves to be in charge.
And what better way to do that than to follow in the footsteps of a legendary figure?
So by copying Huangdi, he's basically saying, I'm the real deal.
Exactly. I'm the rightful heir to this great legacy.
It's a smart move, politically.
Very smart. It connects him to this deep well of cultural significance.
But you said before that relying on mythology can be dangerous.
It can, because myths are open to interpretation.
Right. What works in a story doesn't always work in real life.
Exactly. It's like trying to force a square peg into a round hole.
So maybe Qin Shi Huang just misjudged things.
It's possible he was so focused on this legendary ideal that he didn't think about the real-world consequences.
Like maybe he thought protecting those forests was somehow like fulfilling the legacy of Huangdi.
Right. But in reality, it might have created all these problems.
Yeah, like the deforestation and the anger from the Chu people.
Exactly.
Like he was trapped by this myth.
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it?
Yeah, it makes you wonder what he was really thinking.
And that's what makes history so interesting.
Right.
We can try to piece together the facts, but we can never truly know what was going on inside someone's head.
So we're left with these two conflicting images of him.
The ambitious leader and the flawed human.
Yeah, it's like we're seeing two sides of the same coin.
Exactly. And I think that's the key to understanding Qin Shi Huang.
He wasn't just a hero or a villain.
He was a complex mix of both.
Yeah, and that complexity makes him even more fascinating to study.
I agree. It makes us question everything we thought we knew about him.
And it reminds us that history isn't just about facts and dates.
It's about people.
Real people with all their flaws and contradictions.
And by understanding those people, we can better understand ourselves.
This has been really eye-opening, you know?
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I am. It's really made me think about how we view historical figures.
Right. We tend to simplify them.
Yeah, put them in neat little boxes.
But the truth is always much more complicated.
Okay, so where do we go from here?
Well, I think the next step is to look at some expert analysis.
Oh, cool.
Of these conflicting accounts.
Okay.
And see what they make of it all.
I'm excited to hear what they have to say.
Me too. I think it'll shed even more light on this mystery.
All right, well, let's do it.
Sounds good.
On to the next part of our deep dive.
Let's go.
So we've gone pretty deep on this whole Xiangshan mountain thing.
Yeah, we've seen all the different sides.
Conflicting accounts, the bamboo slips, the mythology angle.
It's a lot to process.
It is. So after all that, what do you think?
About Qin Shi Huang.
Yeah, like, does all this new information make him more sympathetic?
I think it shows how much pressure he was under. I mean, trying to build a whole new world order.
Yeah.
Using, like, whatever he could.
Like pulling out all the stops?
Exactly. Practical stuff, symbolic stuff, even, like, ancient myths.
Right. He was really trying to pull it all together.
And it wasn't easy, you know?
No, I imagine not.
Unifying China, that's huge.
Yeah, it's not like there was a handbook for that.
Exactly. He was kind of making it up as he went along.
So maybe we shouldn't be so quick to judge him.
I think that's fair.
Because it sounds like he was in a really tough spot.
He was trying to balance a lot of different things.
Like what?
Well, on the one hand, he wanted total control.
Right, the whole absolute ruler thing.
But on the other hand, he had to deal with these local beliefs and traditions.
Which probably weren't always on board with his vision.
Exactly. And then there's this tension between his ambition to build this lasting legacy and the fact that, you know, ancient wisdom doesn't always translate well to the real world.
Right, like those myths might have given him some ideas.
Yeah.
But they didn't necessarily tell him how to deal with the nitty-gritty details.
And I think the Xiangshan mountain incident kind of sums all that up.
Whether he protected the trees or destroyed them.
Right. Either way, it shows how complex his reign was.
And how much we still don't know.
Exactly.
You know, this whole deep dive has really made me think about history differently.
How so?
Like, how much of what we believe is actually true?
That's a big question.
It is, right?
I mean, we rely on these sources.
Yeah.
But they all have their own biases.
Right, like we were saying how those later historians might have been twisting things.
To make Qin Shi Huang look bad?
Exactly. So how do we know what to believe?
Well, we have to be critical.
Okay.
We have to look at the evidence.
Yeah.
And be aware of who wrote it and why.
So it's kind of like being a detective.
It is. You have to piece together the clues.
And even then, we might not have the whole picture.
Right. There will always be gaps.
And mysteries.
Which is what makes history so fascinating.
It really is. You know, I used to think history was just about memorizing facts and dates.
Yeah, a lot of people think that.
But it's so much more than that.
It's about understanding people,
Yeah.
Their motivations, their struggles, their triumphs and failures.
And Qin Shi Huang was definitely a complex person.
He was a product of his time.
Right. But he also shaped his time.
Exactly. And by studying him,
Yeah.
we can learn a lot about ourselves and the world we live in.
I feel like we've only scratched the surface here.
There's always more to discover.
So much more to learn.
That's the beauty of history.
It never really ends.
No, the journey continues.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive.
Sounds good.
We've explored the mysteries of Xingshan Mountain.
Debated the legacy of Qin Shi Huang.
And hopefully learned a lot along the way.
I think we did.
So, to everyone listening, we hope you enjoyed this deep dive.
Keep exploring, keep questioning.
And most importantly, keep learning.
History is waiting.